all those moments will be lost in time.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about body positivity again. I know I talked about it recently and it's not like I have a hang up, but one of my lovely subscribers sent me this knowing that it would enrage me, and in fact it did. Enrage might be a little bit intense as a word, but I'm an intense person, so let's just go with it. Okay, I need to breathe. There's this woman called Laura Jane Williams, and she's an author and a columnist for Red Mag Daily. I was sent this tweet by Laura Jane Williams that says, "This week's Red Mag Daily column is about how thin and thin-passing women need to stop posting empowering photos saying they've got flaws and don't mind, because that's actually the total opposite of body positivity." The tweet continues, but when I went to read the article, I saw that she had just taken stuff from the article and put it in the tweet, so there's no need to read the rest of that. So let's just go straight to the article, shall we? Straight to my lobotomy, shall we? Laura Jane Williams isn't talking about weight and body image anymore. By Laura Jane Williams. It always hits me as super egocentric to refer to yourself in the third person. I mean, like, sometimes it makes sense, but here I feel like she didn't really need to use her name, but okay. I feel like what I'm about to say will be met with a little controversy, maybe some strong opinions, outrage possibly, and that's because I want to talk about weight, specifically female weight. My stance is this: most of us need to shut up about it. Now, you guys will understand in a second why I'm outraged, if you want to call it that, but the fact is she knows this is controversial and she knows that this is what's going to get clicks, so let's not pretend that, oh no, it's controversial because it's weight. No, it's controversial because you're about to say something that's arguably, in my opinion, stupid. For a long time, I had a special hashtag I used on half-naked underwear shots on my social media, where I'd seemingly celebrate my slightly above average sized body by pointing out that I had, say, back fat or no thigh gap. I'd acknowledge that I didn't look like the women on catwalks or TV, or even the 30-something London media professionals I spent my time with, and state that I was gorgeous anyway, in spite of my imperfections. But I was wrong to do it that way. Yes, I am gorgeous, but on reflection, the only way to empower myself and to empower the women around me to accept their bodies in whatever shape and size they come in, as well, is to remove discussion around them, full stop. So I'm not a therapist, I don't have a degree in psychology or anything, but usually to stop talking about something that you deem as a problem doesn't solve the problem. So to stop talking about it, I don't know what that solves. And I mean, it's obvious here that she's implying, and we'll get to it in the argument later too. My perception is that she's implying that thin-passing, generally average-sized people shouldn't be talking about it anymore, because I'm sure that people who qualify as overweight, fat, obese, I'm sure they're allowed to do it because, you know, these days there are only certain people are allowed to do certain things, and if you do something that you're not allowed to do, you're immediately canceled. Removing the conversation to me makes no sense, because how are problems solved by not talking about it? Imagine just saying like, you know what, I don't want to talk about it anymore. When has that ever solved a problem? Ever.
What am I doing? I am blowing Dodge. I'm getting out of town. Whatever you call it, I am running away from my responsibilities. Arm feels good.
Continuing on, no matter what our intentions are in discussing body image, we inadvertently end up making things worse, because to analyze and dissect our appearance at all continues to fuel the idea that bodies exist to be analyzed and dissected, no matter how positively we try to do it. Actually, well, I disagree again. How surprising. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to connect this to the fact that I'm an English major. But analyzing and dissecting texts is what makes you appreciate texts more. It can also make you hate texts more, but there is no inherent positive or negative outcome with analyzing and dissecting. Analyzing and dissecting your body for 20 years can make you realize, hey, that one thing that I hated about myself, that's really not a problem. Or it can make you go fucking crazy. The thing is, it's all mindset based, so the implication that it's inherently going to have a negative outcome is really stupid. I think it's more kind of a Schrodinger's cat situation, but you know, if she wants to pretend that any type of analysis is going to end up with hating everything, go off. I've recently been watching Dietland on Amazon Prime, a show based on the novel by Sarah Walker. It features Plum, who is in her own words fat, and her quest towards weight loss surgery. The show takes on the beauty industry, gender equality, and weight loss obsession, and is a deeply political and at times very uneasy watch. It's been eye-opening. It's been eye-opening because the protagonist is sniggered at by young boys on the street. She gives an impassioned speech about strangers giving her unsolicited health advice in restaurants and passengers asking to be moved on an airplane to avoid sitting next to her. People giving unsolicited advice, whether it's health or whatever, is just the worst. So I am totally on the same page with that. Being sniggered at on the street, again, that sucks. Anyways, moving on. Existing as a fat woman, and I say the word fat as an adjective with no judgment, is painful to her because of fatphobia. Culturally, we've attached such negative value to being fat that Plum's mere existence is an affront to many of the folks she interacts with day on day. Writer Meg Ellison once said, "My friends would rather have their guts cut open than be like me." Kitty Stryker has spoken about myriad acts of institutionalized oppression placed on fat bodies, and it has hit me. I have never had that. Impossible beauty standards affect my self-esteem, yes, but I have never truly known fatphobia. I get off easy. I am thin passing. No, I'm not a dress size in single digits, but essentially I move through the world without being stared at or sneered at or commented on. So when I post on Instagram in my underwear talking about accepting my flaws, how must I make other women feel? I've realized how bonkers it is that thin passing women like me talk about love the skin they're in and how brave it feels to go sleeveless or wear a swimsuit. We've got no idea of the true societal cost of being plus sized. So this is where the rage starts to boil. So here she mentions that she's not in the single digits in terms of dress size, but she moves through the world without being stared at or sneered at or commented on. So when she posts in her underwear, she makes other people feel bad because she's accepting her imperfections, but there are people who might be bigger and might feel bad. Just because you are, let's say, thin passing or not noticeably overweight or average or whatever you want to call it, just because you're not on an extreme, it doesn't mean that your problems suddenly don't exist or lose their value, which is exactly what you're saying here. You're saying that because you're average bodied or whatever, you're saying that because you're average bodied, your problems are less important and what you say is less valuable when it comes to your body and accepting your flaws. And I think that this is deeply ignorant and honestly insulting, because what about people with eating disorders? There are plenty of men and women who are tiny and they feel horrible and they can't deal with themselves, their existence, their bodies, and it's an everyday task to keep surviving. And if they need to post every day in their underwear with their socially accepted bodies to feel better, to come to some kind of catharsis, they're allowed to do that, and that's just as valuable as anybody else's opinion about like self-love and body positivity. I'm not saying you have to have an eating disorder to have a valuable perspective, but I'm just saying she didn't even consider that. So it seems to me this article wasn't thought out at all, or she just doesn't care. Because that would imply that myself and whoever I guess is average bodied like me can say nothing. So like my 5 years of bulimia, that doesn't matter, can't say shit. The girl who honestly feels so shit that she can barely get out of her bed because she hates her body, she can't say anything. The man who has to cover his mirrors because he hates his body so profoundly, he can't say anything either, because they're average sized or they are not in any kind of extreme. Does that make sense to you? In what planet does that make sense? I think the craziest part of this is that it's exactly the kind of thing like when you talk about your problem and then someone else says, oh, well, there are people dying. And I'm like, yeah, well, that doesn't solve the problem, and that doesn't solve the problem of people dying either. But that's exactly kind of what she's saying. It's kind of like saying, oh, I feel like shit and I hate my body. And then she'd answer, oh, well, there are actually bigger people who have bigger problems than you. So sorry, your problem doesn't matter. Like, no, okay? No. She then goes on to say, when we talk about getting healthy in gym posts, what we really mean is not being as fat. We can post a before and after weight loss photo online with a paragraph dedicating to explain how we were chasing a better, healthier self, but the subtext is clear. The before, fatter, was bad, and the after, thinner, is good. No, I disagree again. I'm sorry. So there are a bunch of befores and afters where people were big and then they get really thin. Sure, I completely agree with that. The thing is, there are also a lot of before and afters where people were already essentially thin or average body or socially accepted, whatever, and then they just have more muscle definition, or they've gained weight, muscle weight. The subtext is read differently by whoever is reading it. For me, the subtext isn't, oh, they were bigger equals bad, now they're smaller equals good. No, it's more like they made a choice to be healthier, and they're being healthier because they're exercising more or exercising at all. So the subtext that you're choosing to read is saying more about you than the post itself, and the subtext you're seeing is a victimizing kind of subtext, one that only someone who's looking for victimization would really want to see. I'm not a fan of before and after photos, mainly because I usually feel like shit looking at them, but really the thing is that you don't know what that person was like before, so maybe they did have some medical issues related to their weight. Maybe they didn't. However, to impose that subtext on every before and after you see, it seems ridiculous also. So here's the kicker. There are women, people, who are dealing with abuse, hate, and hurt every hour of the day for bodies they exist in, and positivity is for them. For us thin and thin-passing women, no matter how much we've internalized impossible beauty standards ourselves, we have to unpack our own insecurities from the deeply embedded patriarchal and impossible standards of acceptable ways to be. We will never truly contribute to dismantling body image issues if we don't. If we want a true body image revolution, it starts with refusing to give body scrutiny the caption space at all. So, okay guys, the solution to make everyone feel good about their bodies is to stop talking about it and only let certain people talk about it. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. This article to me was so fucking frustrating. I just, man, no. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about all this. I'm really kind of surprised that someone would go to these lengths. I find it a very extreme position, but okay. Let me know what you think about her position and where you stand on all of this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and let's get right into the fan art.